Yes, you've read the title correctly. I'm not who you think I am. As it pains me to admit, I am, and forever will be, a criminal. And that's not an exaggeration. A big warning for those who want to continue. The video before you will contain some incredibly sensitive topics that will go into great detail over the many instances that I've been involved in, and over these past couple of months. Some of which I feel deeply ashamed for doing so, and are irreversible beyond repair. In no way am I trying to gain any sympathy, clout, respect, pity, or anything else that will clear my name. Because there's nothing too clear. Everything that you see here today is the truth. You have been warned. Today, I will go over the entire 300-page document made by a fellow fan showing all the instances and allegations that ended up coming to light a few days ago. I will not reveal the creators of the document in respect of their privacy, but just know that they used to be friends with me way before all this happened. Never would I ever be mentally prepared of viewing this page in front of everyone. But without further deliberating, let's dive in. Now, the document was kind enough of separating the contents into separate tabs for easier accessibility. This includes the following. And again, big warning for those who don't want to see it. 3, 2, 1. Attempting to threaten a 13-year-old by blackmailing them with their IP address. Behind the scenes would bully and shit talk about someone with high levels of autism, joked about banning her from the server on her birthday, and then sending someone to tell her to kill herself in DMs. He really wanted to do that and kept mentioning it many times. Made Adolf Hitler beep. Would constantly misgender people and OCs, which he had corrected them on so many times. Very egotistical, constantly fishing for, yes, Stoner, the fandom was a wasteland before you touched the grass and the grace of the land. Thinks that the Storybots fandom was nothing before he came in. Decided to join this fandom because it was easier to take over. He had a huge problem with constantly telling people has other people's personal problems. Downplays people's personal issues and claims that nothing's compared to what I've been through, kind of makes it a competition, tends to sweep things under the rug, loves to do things without asking, is a huge hypocrite, does not hold himself accountable, and if it does, it will end him back to square one if nothing ever happens. Has a I didn't have to do mindset, as if the bare minimum was a privilege to him. Never really and never was sorry, only apologizes when everything blows up in his face. Literally ripped off the Unlucky Tugs video formatting, for some reason has a beef with minors, also used Ray as a minor as his own therapist, not even treating them as a proper friend, and making them feel like they were in debt to him. By the way, this was mentally ruined them and is fully aware of this now. Went from being friends and someone to hating him and going out of their way and to use them and glowing about it, jokingly threatening me and another person if that they were to say anything about what he's done, he would send reinforcements on us. As of recently threatened me again in the DMs and called me out on the server for some of the BS he was spreading on the server. And in the past YouTube life went on a full exposing video on an 11-year-old, borderline doxing him in that video. I'll try my best to elaborate to the best of my ability on every bullet point listed here. The video itself will be split up into individual parts, so you can watch them in any order you please. But all in all, it will contain pretty much everything you see here. If there's a point that I somehow missed in the document provided to me, just let me know in the comments and I'll correct them down below. But anyway, let's get started. Doxing. This is probably the most impactful one that we're going to take a look at here, and the one that I feel the most ashamed of for doing so. Honestly, you can wrap me out for this topic alone, as this is, in fact, technically illegal. This claim starts from a user who, again, I will not publicly say their name in respect of their privacy, but in short, it was not the brightest idea that I've had when talking with people. So this was at a time where there were several copy channels of my name, and I personally was not a big fan of them, as many of them were making AI covers. They were stealing a bunch of videos of mine and not crediting anything, but it was just and I still have some disdain for the AI, especially the AI stuff on those copy channels, which I did not approve of. So I tried to tell them to take down the videos and stuff and say hey, what you're doing is not okay. please, like, you know, respect the people and, like, you know, respect, like, my own videos and stuff. And, you know, it worked out for some, but, like, you know, it wasn't really, like, you know, getting it into their heads as like, you know, as I thought it would. So I rather foolishly came up with an idea, like, of, you know, trying to get these people, like, to get them off the internet. And like, this is, like, something I am actually, like, appalled of thinking back now of doing. So I had the idea of making these, like, these IP grabber things, and essentially what it did is, like, if you click on it, it'll show, like, you know, their information and everything, and it would just, like, say, like, oh, like, where you live and everything, which is a pretty, you know, stupid way of doing it. So I there is no going around it. That actually is pretty stupid, of, like, trying to, like, take someone, like, you know, someone's, like, channel down and everything. But I will say, like, I will step up here and tell everyone that I myself have in no way and no ill will intention of having any interest of getting their location and doing harmful stuff to. I'm not that type of guy to come up and do harmful stuff at your location. I don't have any sole interest of any place that you, like, that any place that anyone lives in. I'm just not that type of guy to do so. And I never actually ended up doing that to any of the channels. That was just an idea I have. But the fact that I thought up of this idea at all is just very wrong for me to do so. And I just, it's very indescribable of, like, you know, all the things that I'm like doing. And the fact is that this wasn't the first time I've done this. I don't know what was going through my head to think that this was, like, such a good idea. It wasn't. But this wasn't, like, the first time that this happened. I know, like, there was one time I went to, like, New York with with a couple friends, and I wanted to, like, you know, tell someone, like, you know, hey, like, I know, like, you're in the New York area. Maybe we can hang up and, like, we can hang out and just, you know, do what friends do, like, just hang out, go shopping, and go to restaurants, you know, have a good time. Like, that is something, like, normal people would do, like, just to have a good time, like, you know, and to have a good discussion and everything. That's that's how people make relationships and everything. And I thought, you know, like, having this, like, you know, connection with, like, fans in real life and, like, you know, online at the same time, you know, it would be a good time. Like, you know, it'd probably be a blast, if I'm being honest, to meet these people. But I will admit, it should have been, like, more better planned out than, like, you know, last minute decision. Like, in my head, at least, I thought it was, like, you know, a good idea to meet these people and to see them, like, you know, since I had that opportunity, which was probably, like, you know, I'm not sure if it was, like, one in a lifetime or anything, but I will say that it was probably for the better if I did plan stuff out better than to make up everything last minute, which is something that, you know, kind of traumatized them a bit for, you know, thinking that someone like me will visit over and, like, and not knowing what they would do. Honestly, that, you know, in their perspective, I totally get it. It sounds kind of scary for someone like, you know, me potentially wanting to go meet someone without any knowledge of, like, or any, like, thought of what they were going to do. I totally get in their eyes now of seeing, like, how I might be a creep to them for that. And like, even though I don't have any, like, ill will intentions of, like, you know, doing any stuff to them, from their perspective at least, I can totally see how that would, you know, maybe if it was, like, after, like, a few years of getting to know them better and, like, you know, just building, like, you know, a normal relationship, like, with them online, then maybe perhaps, like, maybe we could have planned out something better, and like, meet them in real life online, like set it up online and, like, meet up in real life, maybe in the same place or maybe somewhere else. But it's something that I'm not really that happy with overall, and very traumatized of just thinking about the idea that I have done something like this, like, to someone. And even though I haven't actually, like, done anything harmful to these people, the fact that I had the idea of doing so at all, like, you know, putting themselves at risk and everything, is something that I am very ashamed of thinking about myself, and one that I will never, you know, ever forget. Will have that sting in forever on me until the end of time. So, and the fact that this wasn't like a one-time thing, I think, really says it all when all is said and done. OC Shorts. Now, this was a production that I personally wanted to be a success, and I bet a lot of people involved in it before also wanted it to succeed as well. But what it ended up being was something that was lazily put together, slow, repetitive, disarrayed, and just an overall drag to be in. I feel incredibly bad for putting these people into such levels I myself cannot describe. So this all started like early back in January, where I pulled in a bunch of people to help me make a Storybots fan series on YouTube, and for the most part, people were very excited about it. They were, very excited to have their OCs be in something like, something big, and, sharing their work out into the world. And, we started off by just sharing like, our OCs and everything, and like talking about the stories we can have with these characters and everything. Well, I myself didn't have any OCs since I'm not really good at making OCs myself, but we'll get to that later in the video. But yeah, like a lot of people were sharing their OCs and like their stories and everything, and we were just like, just having a good time. But in terms of like, actual production work, hardly anything was like getting done throughout these like past couple months. February, March, April, May, and passed by, and like, there wasn't really any like work being done on this stuff. Like all we were really talking about was just anything new Storybots related that happened, like on like YouTube or whatever. And we were just talking about like other like OC characters, but not really anything related to the production. And that I think was ultimately like what left it to like, and that and a bunch of other reasons is why like it ultimately it was like a letdown for a lot of people, and why it's like now currently in a hiatus state. Some of the things that like were in these meetings are also a bit pretty unforgivable on my end for doing. Like there was the one time like I was joking around like with people that one night. I can't remember exactly when it was exactly, but on one call I was like making like an art. I was sharing it with everyone, and the idea for this art I wanted to make like for people was actually not from me personally. It was actually from another person who I wish not to affiliate with anymore. Had the idea first, and I rather foolishly wanted to like go up with the idea. And again, I didn't know what I was thinking in my head, like thinking that was a good idea or not. But I decided to make like this one beep into like this Hitler figure in like one of the meetings, and while I haven't saved the art myself, I rather clumsily like just showed everyone that night, and like they were just incredibly weirded out by it. Like they were not used to seeing something like that, and rightfully so. Like they that stuff is like very insensitive and like very incredibly dumb for me to like create in front of everyone. I really am really ashamed for making such of that. But like that was like one of the things that turned off people from making another project. Now, there's another thing that was brought up in the meetings that people have problems with, was that I was like pretty much downplaying like people's personal issues when it shouldn't really come up into a production like this. Like they like sent like if someone was like having like a personal issue or something, basically I would come in like not thinking and just like trying to like calm it down by personally downplaying these issues with saying like, oh, I've been through worse, and like these people haven't like suffered what I've been doing. That's what I've been saying to them. And I guess there was like something lost in translation there, because people didn't really take that too kindly about it, and were like very deeply distressed by that, and thinking that I was like, and going off like the egotistical thing like that we'll get to later, it was just not really the best way of communicating with people, and like getting as far as production, or just like the entire production was like a complete mess from the start. I feel like if there was like there was an attempt by someone who tried to like reformat everything and like get all the like things back together again, but even so that didn't really last long. Like we had like a whole pilot set and everything, but now that's like being tossed aside for good now, and it just ended up not being as successful as I envisioned it before. And like I feel very bad, like I put through these people that ultimately wasted their time making these characters and everything, all for that not to be used in the series, because I really would love to see like these characters like be used in like all these stories and having more people be recognized with everyone. And another misconception that, you know, people say like about this, when it comes to the OC characters, like when I say like I don't make OC characters, it was never my intention to like steal these OCs and claims it as my own. That was never like the intention from at all in the start. All I really wanted to do was like show these characters into the light and putting them into like something that they could be proud of with these characters and stories, even if some of the meetings weren't as, you know, well thought out and like not focusing on the production side of things. I feel like that these characters really have potential of getting into like stories and like making everything you can do with these characters, because these are really great characters. I have to say, like some of these OCs, like they have like really great backstories and like designs that I'm like endlessly fascinated by it. Like I really love all these OCs and everything, and I wish they could have done like, you know, better. I could have done better to make these meetings like more manageable and like have a more like, you know, better performance on like the production side of things. But and also like just also that I had like a tendency of just misinterpreting like many OC characters, like, you know, pronouns and everything and all their characters and stuff. I mean, I've had like since improved that, like, you know, like a few months after that, like I'll say a little bit, but not much. But before then, I just had completely no knowledge. Like couldn't like keep like a good memory of like every single character. Like I would just assume what characters were, and like I think that's another thing that people got ticked off about, was that I wasn't really getting their characters well. And since they poured like all this effort into their characters and everything, it just felt like it was, you know, heartbreaking seeing that, you know, the guy that's going to make this entire project possible can't even understand the characters is like, it was like even like a big letdown. Like, and that's another reason that people didn't really like feel like they wanted this like, you know, to go on, because I didn't have a better understanding of it. So I really wish I knew the characters more better to have a better connection with them and to better understand, so I can like, you know, I myself could make like good stories as they would. So yeah, I really wish that was like something I could have done to make it better. I think what ultimately like killed it for a lot of people is that one time when I called in everyone like for an emergency meeting, like, oh hey everyone, I pinged everyone came in thinking it was like some sort of emergency, and all it ended up being was, you know, someone joining the main Storybots fan server. It was like one of the VAs of Storybots coming in. I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my god, that this is happening, oh my god, it's so real, ha ha ha. And, you know, people were like kind of let down by that. And I think it was like at that point, like among all the others with the OC stuff, that they just ultimately decided, yeah, this is not going to go anywhere, we're just going to be done, finished, sayonara, bye bye. And like around May or June or whatever, that's when everything just like went on an indefinite hiatus. And that's where it actually currently stands right now. The OC production, it just stands as like, you know, standing but not operating, like sort of mood. It's like I don't really know what to do with it now that it's like, you know, it's now that all this is going on. But it does feel like, you know, a big letdown for everyone that like poured their effort into making stuff like this, and I really feel bad on my end for just wanting to do all this, like, you know, for nothing, is what it really feels like for a lot of people. And I do admit that it could have been played out a lot better and like better professionally played out for like all these fans that put all these effort into their characters. Because I think if it was like played out correctly, I think at this point we would have made like at least like 2 or 3 episodes at this point of these like shorts. But because of this, nothing really ended up being the way it was, so it just ultimately didn't happen. And while I cannot guarantee, like, you know, OC shorts will continue ever on this, I will say, like, you know, from this will have like a lasting impact for everyone. And it really had a negative like outlook on people, and was overall just not the best experience someone could have. And I think because of that, I think there's like no real future, at least for like the next couple of months, for this going to be this show continuing like anytime soon, which is really sad to see. Everyone's efforts just be totally wasted here. Being egotistical / hypocritical. One of the biggest claims that people have, against me is that I'm like this big headed person that thinks like all high of himself and thinks he's number one, and so egotistical to everything that everything else that's below him is ultimately doesn't matter to him in his eyes. Which I will, come up and say that, I was in that mood set, for a good while or so. It only took me a few months to realize that, I am this person that, once thought high of himself and everything. The main thing that people say about my egotistical mind is that I say stuff and gloat about it all the time, stuff along the lines of oh, I was the one who created the fandom, this was such a total wasteland and I basically fixed everything, and that I am the savior of this. I'm the big guy and everything. I control everything. I'm this big guy and everything is mine and everything is saved because of me, that I should be the best at everything and all that. Everything that I just said right there is just a big fat lie. I did not create this fandom, nor did I make any I didn't control anything of the fandom. The only thing I did of note was just expanding it, but that was it. That was the only thing I ever done to this thing. I have never ever controlled the fandom, though even though I have even though people claim that I said, and I myself claim this as well. It's all just not true at all. It's and it does really kind of hurt my credibility a bit for thinking this way. And with 12,000 subscribers under my belt and on my YouTube channel, it's it's pretty hard to ignore this sort of mindset that I have over the Storybots stuff. And I guess that kind of what was why most of these some of these problems are affected by me having this egotistical brain, and saying that I do the best stuff. I'll be honest, I don't make the best in terms of content or stories and whatnot. I don't make the best. I will admit that there are people out there that do far better stuff that I could ever make, and I'm under the hood. I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not yes, I am popular with the statistic. The statistics that I have under my YouTube channel don't lie or anything. But when it comes to treating that as my main persona and being this egotistical guy, I just can't deny that that was absolutely what it was like during all that. And I feel that was sort of painting a different image for a lot of people. I know that there's a lot of people out there that used to see me as an idol and everything. And while I do appreciate the people giving support and everything, I really don't see that as anymore as just adding points to myself, if you know what I mean, trying to use that as towards myself to benefit myself with. And switching over to the more hypocritical stuff, because I decided to combine both the egotistical and hypocritical stuff as the same, because they both work out one and the same when it comes to this stuff. Moving on to the hypocritical stuff, there are times where I just I might be sound trusting to people, when sometimes sometimes things go a different way, and people will have a different perspective on me because of that. One of the biggest ones that I can think of is when I tell when I talk about personal stuff with other people, when it's just a private conversation, and then I unintentionally tell the stuff that other people say, when sometimes it might just slip up when I talk with stuff, and it gets into their people, and ultimately they didn't really need to know about those things, there's just something in my mind that like just wanted to like tell them, even though if they didn't want to hear about it. I won't go like into like any like people's names and everything, as again to respect their privacies and everything, but I would like tend to do stuff like that with people, and I feel ashamed like the people that that have trusted me to like keep it private. I mean, I wouldn't like publicly state it like like in public like or anything. I wouldn't like if I'm talking about something like with someone about their personal stuff, like I wouldn't like go to YouTube or Twitter and like publicly say all that. I say, hey everyone, this person's having like these problems, go help him. I wouldn't say that. Like it was really like towards like other close people, which I am glad I do have that restraint inside me to like not say like public. I do know like other people that would do the opposite of that. And again, I won't mention what they do or whatever, but just knowing that I had like this big brain and everything, like being like the big guy I am, thinking I can make the best decisions, which I don't make the best decisions and everything. It just hinders like my credibility of just trusting in people. I like feel like that with people I talk to that know about that, and only now just like knowing all this like information now will only like hinder my performance and like hinder my credibility with people that I talk with, and will only like lose trust from all these like instances, which again I feel really ashamed for like just having, and like even trying to like use that as like a reason to like with a lot of people. And another thing I would like often do sometimes is just like to hide my problems too, because I didn't want like other people spreading it around. But with all this information getting around, like what's the point of it now? Like it just come to a point where it's pretty obvious of the stuff that has been through my head and what people have been experiencing. And again, I just feel very ashamed of it all, that people get to see it all, and like they've looked up to me and all this, and now they're just wanting to break up my connections with me just from that. Like I don't think there's like a big like punch to the stomach than that, seeing everyone like just leave like because I lost their trust in them, and probably will be with me forever, like until the end of time for that. And it really sucks too, since I like these people like I talk to are really like creative people. Like again, they like coming back to the OC shorts, they really love like creating all this stuff, and I like really like had a fun time like collaborating with all these people and like certain projects that I did, and all these people that got to work with me. It's like it's like fantastic. I love doing this stuff like that, and I wish we get to like do that stuff more, if like all this was like not a big thing and everything. But another thing that also like ticked off some people a little bit was when I like when something like bad happens like under my name. Usually sometimes they think I'm not like I don't take it like very seriously, and I will go into like this into the next section, and I just try to like hide it, when and really in my mind I'm just like trying to like try to get away from it all, because it's really like stuff like this is like really hurting like my mental stuff and everything that's been going on. And it's really hard to put it into words of like how I would really feel in these sort of situations, but I wouldn't really be feeling like myself in any of these like times, and I tried to like get a void for them and try to like go away. And it feels like, from all these times, like, like nothing really substantial has been changing. I like feel like there's been some change in me, like just a little tiny bit, but like nothing like, too substantial to really like, make a name for myself or anything, or just like trying to like improve my own self-image towards everyone or just myself. And another thing was that I would just like often say stuff like like as like saying stuff that like if I'm trying to like having an argument with someone, and saying like this like that privilege talk, I would say like, oh, like for example, like I would say, oh, I didn't have to do like the thing I did, but I did it anyway because I care. Like I would say that like all the times, and I admit it would be like very tiring to hear that thing over and over again, like on repeat. Like just hearing it as like a way of an excuse, and like I guess the more times you say it, like, the less of like a case you have if you do say that. And like, it's from that, like, that people think that I'm not really sorry for like any of these stuff, like, I've caused, like, the problems that I have caused with people. And I really didn't want to think that way. I really am, like, I like, I can't, I may not like think it, like, I may not like show it, like, with my face, because of like all the mental stuff that's going through my head. But I really do feel like a lot. And again, I will get to it later once I get to like the ending and like show everyone's like I'll show like my reaction to like everyone's like what they had to think in the whole situation and everything. Because when I saw that was absolutely like traumatized. It actually broke me when I saw everyone's like reactions at the same time. But again, I'll get to that later once that gets into light again. But and like in short, like, I just feel like I was just like, wrong to these people that, I thought that I had like this big mindset. Now they think of as all these like different perspectives and everything of me because of me being like, having a big head and everything. I guess if I didn't have like, all this like popularity under my YouTube stuff, then I guess it wouldn't really get into my head as much as like, if anything, I should be like blessed that, I'm having all this like, having all this like popularity from like, my YouTube channel and stuff. Because if I didn't, I guess, well, I mean, I guess maybe because like, if I wasn't popular, I guess I would have like, been less egotistical than like in my brain. But again, I'm just like not very happy overall with just the whole like mindset of everything and how I like, treated everyone because of like my big head. I really do feel like that it could have gone better had I just been, less thinking about myself and like more to other people than like, and like the problems that I've caused them and like all the mental stuff they've been going through too as well. And while we're on the topic, I just want to like, bring up someone important, and like this will be the only person that I will actually like, say the name of and like, make their presence like known to everyone. And that is Stetson. Now, this person was like, I have like so many things that I want to say to Stetson that I should have said like, a long time ago. And if you are listening to this, Stetson, I really want you to take this with like, heart and everything, because I really do mean like all the things that I'm now having a perspective on you before, like what I initially had thought of you before, now having something else, having great respect and everything. So, before I came like, before, this whole fiasco started with all these problems and such, when I first saw Stetson, like, talking, I was really optimistic. I like saw like, oh, she's another Storybots fan, she's like doing all this stuff. And yeah, like she was, doing all this stuff. That's great. But then when she, talks and like to other people and like, talking very weirdly to situations and like sometimes getting herself into own problems, like it would like sometimes feel like that Stetson doesn't really know what to say, most of the stuff, and that is like, to blame to like, for her own mental stuff that she has going through, like, which is like probably more severe than mine, if I'm being honest, with what she has going through her head, which sometimes she may not like have the right words to say or like the right emotions. And like, I know, Stetson, you really think like, you really think that I'm like a really good person and all, and that is great. And like, while you may not like see that, I'm actually like, caring for you and like, having a great respect for who you are, I just want you to know that I once initially thought that you were kind of a weird person. I didn't really like have like any, and I kind of like was being a big bully to you, like, honestly. Sometimes I would joke around and have like ideas of like banning you from the server because of like all the weird stuff you've been saying, which was so wrong. And especially like, on your birthday, which would probably be like, which probably would make you very emotional and everything. And even at one point I was, had the, I once had the intentions of saying like just to kill yourself, like on occasion, even though that idea was like from someone that I no longer affiliate with anymore, and thankfully I don't have to affiliate their name in my life anymore. But even like just thinking about the idea, and even though I didn't say it like out loud to them, like I didn't, like the message didn't go through to them, just the idea of like, thinking about that is just completely wrong on a lot of levels. So, and like, I just like, I didn't really see like, like the same way that, some people may see you, like, Stetson. And I have to say, like, after all this, like, seeing like everything what everyone else has to say about you, like, I just gotta say to myself, like, you have like, a lot of heart inside you, like, and you do make some like stuff that you yourself make you really happy about, like, what you do. You may not feel the same way, like, that most people do, like, that feel all about the sensitive stuff and everything, but to me at least, I see like you as like a very commendable and respectable Storybots fan, like, and like, without all the problems that you're like have like, mentally and stuff, which can't be helped. I have to say that the stuff you make is what makes you happy, and like at the end of the day, that's what makes yourself like, who you are. Make the stuff that make yourself happy, and like, possibly make like inspire someone to create the stuff. I saw like, a small bit of change, like, ever since that, all that stuff. And I will like, and that came to the conclusion why I have to say that you are, being who you are, and like loving Storybots is what you do best. And all I have to say is just, to keep that going, and like to make like other people happy, and like if it makes you happy. So I don't like ever want you like to quit on anything, like in anything that you do, because I know you have like lots of other interests too. So if you ever want to like, continue making like Storybot stuff, and you ever have like ideas, do whatever makes yourself happy, and make other people like, and make other people's days with your stuff and everything. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out to you, just in case you had like people had like, the wrong message, when you see like other people as well. But yeah, I really am proud for you, Stetson. Like, keep up the good work and everything. So yeah, good job. Not being sincere. Another thing that people claim against me, and like when it comes to like this whole Storybots fiasco thing, is that I don't really take stuff like seriously or anything. And then this mainly comes to like when I like, get into like an argument or anything, that I just, they think I'm always in the right, that, I'm like coming back to like, the whole egotistical like idea sense, and that like, I'm like not really like sorry much for anything, and I'm not really being serious about like, the stuff that I really just am when I make like solutions and everything. Because like I said before, I don't have like, the best ideas when it comes to like, common sense, which, being a being a 21-year-old is actually like, kind of, pathetic in like, a mind sense, that, people younger than me have like better ideas and better things to do, like better, stuff, like, sorry if I'm wording this wrong, like better, like a thinking process that have like more better decisions that I can make. I think that's really saying something, like to like, like to the credibility that I have, being like a pretty much a young adult in like my age, and not really learning from all this stuff, like, that people tell me. Like, I don't take it to heart and anything, like, in that sense, I just sometimes like want to like, try to, see like, from another angle and stuff, like, and while I probably should have, listened to people that say all this stuff, like, and should take it for heart and understand, like, the severity of it all, and which I will get to like at the end of the video, talking about everyone's reactions and everything. But I think it should have really been more taken seriously on my end to have everyone's criticisms and like, just to amend them, and which should have been done very, very like soon, like at like the start when it all started, which should have been fixed ages ago. I feel like, regretful for not taking that route sooner. And like, again, being like, a 20 or 21-year-old listening to all this stuff and not really taking it seriously just really hurts me inside, just knowing that I should have, taken that. Even if they were younger than me, they do know stuff that better than I ever could. And sometimes when I think I'm in the right, and people may not like, have the same agreements as me, sometimes I might gloat about them and use that as an argument against them, which, looking back, yeah, that was completely wrong on my end to just gloat about like my stuff, and with a sprinkle of like that egotistical brain set that I have in these arguments that should really not have been there at all when I talk about this sort of stuff, especially when it comes to like personal problems, and using that like as like basis for saying like in that sense that people will definitely not take me seriously if I'm like using like that at like to someone's own personal problems, using it for my own arguments, and again sort of downplaying their problems to make mine look more important, which it isn't. I've never wanted to say that my problems were more important than any others, but that's what it felt like for a lot of people when I do say that, when it was lost in translation there. And yeah, I do feel ashamed for just using that as a basis for like some of my arguments. Like, it's like kind of like, it's a way of like, sometimes I think, like I don't think before I do, which is probably a huge problem on my end when it comes to like just conversations in general. Sometimes I do stuff and like I may not have like a second thought about it. It's like I either do it or I just like think maybe like little about it. But like if there's like one thing I could improve upon myself, then is that just like to think before I act, which is like very generic of me to say so, but that is like a really important thing to know whenever you do make decisions and everything. Just like before you do something, and just think like back to yourself, think maybe like maybe what I'm doing is maybe not right, maybe it will affect other people. Like how will that affect others that will be severely traumatized over the event or whatever, given the context of it. But that could be one thing that could be like, that could have been like something that could have been avoided by me for not like making all those like dumb decisions and everything, which again I will take all the blame here for like not being like taking it all seriously and everything, which again, well, if this was something that you had a problem with, then I just really feel ashamed for those who were like heavily traumatized over that idea of all that and everything. But yeah, I only wish that that something could have been done before to prevent all this. But like it seems like that I have like a long way to go if I ever want to like gain people's like trust back and everything. Like this is not gonna like be instant or anything. Like I highly doubt that people will ever forgive me for any of this stuff, let alone at all. But if there's one thing I could improve upon myself, it would just be like to take things like take things to heart, mostly. Unless if it's like unless if it's obviously made as a joke, then obviously I shouldn't pay attention to it. But if it is being serious, if like you are being serious with me, I guess one thing I could learn from that is to just learn how other people would feel after that, and just see how others feel, like negatively or positively regarding the context or whatever. But yeah, that could be something that I can improve in future if this ever does become like trivial in future. Manipulation and threats. Now, this is another one that people call me out for a lot of times, and from what I see is actually like a very justifiable reason of calling me out on, because while I don't mean any like physical harm towards any of the people that I've talked with, the way I've been talking with people, then making it sound like that I'm like the threatening individual, makes me feel like that I'm the threat to them, and it's not, and then like paints me like in this wrong image and such. Because the way I've been talking to these people makes it sound like that I'm like being this like big giant force, and with all like the power that I had before, it makes it feel like that other people are like so emasculated over this, and some have actually been manipulated like their minds from like quite a bit, like mentally, which is kind of like irreversible damage that has been like done, and like that I can't really fix no matter what happens like later. It's really like very sad to think about that I've actually messed up some people from like talking about this. So there are like a lot of times where I talk with people online about like, you know, stuff like, and you know, and sometimes in the arguments that I make with them, and going off the stuff that I've said previously, that I would sometimes like, you know, make like these like quote unquote threats by saying like, oh, if you don't do this, like I'm going to like, you know, do like, I'm gonna make your life very horrible and such. Like I didn't like, I know that really sounds like very like, you know, manipulative of me to say such things like that, but when I really mean that way, like I just, part of me was like thinking that, you know, I didn't really mean it that way, but like the way I worded it made it sound like I was actually trying to, you know, like trying to like get stuff out of them. And like I said, I don't mean like any like physical harm to anyone. And by saying this, I'm not like, you know, saying like, oh, I'm in the clear and everything. I'm like innocent here. It's not like I'm trying to clear my name up or anything. No, I actually like, I didn't really feel that way. It just feels like I was running into a corner and everything, and I didn't really have many options left. And like it, like no matter what I was saying, like, you know, trying to fix like the issue, it feels like I was like trying to like back myself into a corner, and like it was like a last minute like thing, which, you know, in hindsight it was probably not the best, that like trying to like say all those things to people, and like all the threats I've made. It's because of these threats that, like, you know, people are actually trying to like avoid like, you know, conversations with like me, because like they fear that, you know, if I talk with like if these people talk with me, that I might do like, you know, harmful stuff with them, which even though I admit I will not, like, you know, I would never harm anyone physically or mentally in that like, you know, intention. Just like, you know, the idea of like, you know, my presence there with like all the power that I somehow acquired like throughout this like, you know, time on the internet, it just feels like I was, you know, a threat to them. And not only that, but like, you know, now that I had like, you know, like the creators on like my back, like, you know, and everything, which I already started like gloating about at the beginning, people felt like, you know, if they messed up or whatever, that they would like be like exiled, which instead, like, you know, it kind of like, you know, bit me in the ass, and I was the one that ended up being like, you know, the one that ended up being like the one that exiled and everything. But I will admit that those things that I have said to those people were entirely my own, like, you know, fault for saying so. And it just feels very wrong now, just like seeing everyone that, and it's not like I can like, you know, fix all these problems, like, you know, at all, because like these people are like, you know, mentally broken because of like the stuff I said to them, which again is something that I feel incredibly bad for them having to live with, that like probably forever. And it just feel, and like the fact that I like, you know, I was like, it sounded like they were like, I was like joking about it and everything, made it feel like that people like seemed like I didn't really care about this stuff, which made it even worse for them. And I feel such like, you know, I feel such like dread and grief about everything that's been like said to, like, in like utterly from my mouth, like to like everyone that's been involved in like these sorts of activities that I wanted to like, you know, get in, that I somehow got into. And seeing all the people like, you know, and again I know I say this a lot, I will get to that later, like with all the people's reactions, but it just seeing all that unfold and the impact that I've now seen like with everyone, it just makes me feel so empty inside. And it's something that I can't really fix now, not without after all the stuff that I've been doing over and over again. It just feels like I'm like on an endless loop, like just trying my best to like, you know, try to fix all the stuff, when in reality it just feels like I'm on like a treadmill, like doing the same stuff over again, which isn't helping my case or anyone else's case at all. And if there is something like I do want to like change about, like another thing I want to change about, like, you know, how the stuff I like view with people is just not to like, you know, be like negative towards them. Like I don't mean anything towards these people. I guess I just need to learn like how to word stuff properly, which is like a problem that I myself have like been dealing with, you know, with like, you know, the problems I've have like in my mind when I try to like form I'm not the best at forming sentences like at all. And I guess just trying to like find the best words to use in the sentence and trying to use that in the conversation. Like if it's like, you know, for a positive light or a negative, it doesn't really matter. But I guess one thing that I could really like change is just using the right words in the right context, because I feel like there are some times when I use words that are probably maybe sound like maybe like taken the wrong way from some people. I can name like a few instances where that happened. Like I say something and people took that the wrong way. And I just really have to be careful. And like, again, going off the thing that I said before, of just choosing like what I need to say is like, you know, correct or not. Like just fact checking, like, you know, just before I say something, like think, oh, like, will this impact someone, like, you know, badly if I say something like this? What will people think about like the stuff I say? Think about like alternate like meanings behind like what the stuff I say. So yeah, if I ever like, you know, want to talk with like anyone, like, or if I want to like have a future conversation with someone, threatening is just not an option for me. I just cannot like, you know, imagine me just like it's hard to like, you know, get me angry at something. I really am not angry with anyone like in all these cases. Like it's rare you see me that like I would be fully enraged about something that, you know, is something that is out of my disdain. I just can't see myself like fully mad about something ever in like my life. I just it takes a lot of effort to really get to that level with me. So if there's anything that I want to do with myself is to just not be like, you know, a menacing threat to people, and not using like, you know, my own popular status for one to use in arguments, because yeah, that is kind of messed up for some people. Ripping off content. Now this section of the doc is the only thing that I kind of disagree with in that sense, though on the other hand, I do see why people would say such things like this, like from what they see, like, you know, from the stuff I make. So this goes for like all of my videos that I make, like mainly like the analytical videos that I do on my YouTube channel. And the claim goes to that like I've kind of quote unquote ripped off another content creators like videos and used them for my own. The video like the creator in question is like a popular like Thomas YouTuber called The Unlucky Tug, which makes some really well thought out analytical videos, and I will admit was a heavy inspiration for the videos that I make. And you know, like his stuff is like really like well thought out and like all well structured and everything, and that kind of what gave me inspired to like, you know, make this sort of stuff. But I will say that like, you know, his like channel and all his content is not like the only thing that inspired me to make like, you know, others like my own stuff. There are a lot of other people that, you know, have made like stuff like not even like just like, you know, storybots related, but also like, you know, that are also well paced and crafted and all that. And like it's sort of like a combination of like all those creators and like putting them into like, you know, my own work. So, and then like in that sense, people are like saying like, you know, that is like sort of like coming off as like being unoriginal and stuff, since I'm usually like taking something else from someone else and like using it for my own work and stuff. But I wouldn't necessarily call that like ripping off someone else's work. Like if I actually was ripping off like their work, like The Unlucky Duck, for instance, like if I was ripping off their stuff, like if I like say took their voice like in their video, if I took like their the content they were talking about, like Thomas and stuff, and like, you know, talking about all that, like, you know, saying the exact same stuff, the exact same opinions, exact same thoughts, then that would be ripping off like their stuff. Like that would be considered like, you know, stealing his work. But the clear difference here is that like what like this is like where I kind of disagree with, is that like the only things I'm really like taking from their videos is like the format styles and like how they like, you know, structure the videos. The contents like inside the videos are all like, you know, completely like, you know, all the thoughts and opinions on like the Storybot show they're all completely mine. None of that is like stolen like from anyone's. And the only things I do get are like, you know, things that are like inspired by like other people, and take that it's like, you know, my own thoughts and matters. But if they're really going to say that I ripped off someone else's like content, if they're really going to go off that logic where I like, take that stuff and use it for my own, that means there's like a whole bunch of other people that are doing the exact same things right now and are doing like all that, like, and probably like in a worse scale, like they're using, like, some people are using like AI for this stuff and they're getting away with it. And like I'm not like, trying to like, exaggerate anything over here. I'm like, there's actual people that like make this stuff and like try to rip off people by using their actual stuff. And, while some are more noticeable than others, I wouldn't say like I'm actually like, stealing their work because of it. Like, you can't like trademark words on a screen and like say that's stealing. Like, that's not really how it works. Like, it all falls under the fair use. Like, if I was like, having the same ideas and the same opinions as like someone else, like, and like using it word for word in like the exact same context, then that would be like actually stealing something. Not to mention that the Unlucky Tug and myself cover two completely different shows that have like two completely different like tones and different stuff going for them. Like, those two shows have pretty much nothing in common other than the fact that they are both kid shows aimed for a young demographic. That's the only thing that they really have in common, that I would say, for those two shows. And also the music that he uses in his videos, like, this kind of similar to what the music I use. Like, he doesn't even own like those, like the music that he like plays in his videos. Like, the music he like uses is like all from third parties, and like, like both me and him, we both give like the creators like of the music work the proper credit that they deserve, which I still do in like all my videos. You can check all that out even before all this like was like claimed and everything. But I can see like why that some people would come to that that claim of like that I'm like stealing someone else's like ideas and stuff. And that I'm not saying that like inspirations is a bad thing or anything. No, I just want to like make that out, that I'm like not trying to like steal anyone else's work. And like, because like the whole idea of just making all these Storybot essay videos was that no one was really making like Storybot review videos and making all this like content that people usually do with other shows and everything. And I thought like if I use that same idea and apply that to Storybots, like I thought, yeah, like this could be like something that no one else has done before. And while I wouldn't say like the idea is totally original in my eyes, like, since like it's the same like format and everything, I will say like it's like something that hasn't been done like before, like this essay style Storybots content, like that hasn't been done before like at all. I'm like basically like the first guy to like start this whole like train of videos and ideas and everything. But I can see why people would like come to that assumption to that, so I won't like blame that for whoever came up with the claim first. But yeah, I can see that being like it. And again, with like being original and stuff, that's like another thing I really want to be, like when I want to change and everything. If I want to change something about myself, is just to be more original. I have tried like being original, like with that like recent like podcast story I released like a few days ago. And while it may not have like the best traction with a lot of people, it sort of was my attempt at being like making something original for once. And I do plan on making more original stuff like that in future, if like all this like goes well and everything. But yeah, when it comes to like my videos, I do plan on like mostly becoming like original and getting some inspiration from other people when like I feel something is great and will succeed. Past self. Now this section I will try to keep extremely brief here, as the reasons I want to keep it as like private as possible is for personal reasons, and just not to like bring back like all that stuff before, but like now that's like becoming like relevant again, I might as well mention it here in front of everyone. So just to keep it short, like I was a part of another like community that I will not name, and was part of another alias that I will not mention like the name of as well, to keep it private again. But if you know, you know. There was like some things that I've done like in that previous things that were kind of similar, if not like the exact same as like how it was here. Probably not to like the big extent like it was like in this like community I like joined in with the Storybots and everything. But there was like one part of it where I was involved in like some sort of like, incident where there was like an 11-year-old, and like, it was like a big giant collaborative project. Like, it wasn't just me, it was like a couple others I will not name the names of to keep themselves private. We all like banded together and just like, made this like thing all about them, and just basically just like, and I feel ashamed, like, just making that like entire thing, like, even like the idea, but like everyone else was like, telling me to like, do this, like, as a collaborative project, like, so like I wasn't the only part. But even so, like, I do take the full blame on, like, even allowing this thing to, like, be public in front of everyone. So it was, like, really, like, a bad, like, thing on my behalf. But, like, the real extent of the problem was that, like, I was, like, not only was I, like, just trash talking about this one person, but, there, like, it was, like, there's one section where, like, I, quote unquote, doxed him in, like, a video. Now, I say quote unquote doxed because like the information I like provided like was already like, made public, months before that video was like even set on making. So like the information that was set there was already publicized before, like, so I like technically I was not doxing him like in that sense, but like in technicality terms, like, putting that information to like in another sense, even though it was already public, already does make it. Like, I'm not saying like that, like, I'm trying to clear my name up in that sense, or like trying to like say that I was not doing anything wrong in that sense. No, I absolutely was doing something wrong. No, it was like just a like, it's pretty hard to put into words like exactly, but it just was not the right thing for me to, put that out into public and like just, publicly shame this one person for doing so. And I feel really bad doing so because, and like like just before, getting all to this, they like, got like once to get their trust back into me. But now reading all this, like, this is like, quickly shifted back into their minds that I haven't changed at all since this. And that's something I really like, feel ashamed for doing so. Like, I thought I was like, changing like for the better when it only just ended up turning to crap later down the line. And like, that's something irreversible that I cannot do. That's gonna really, really hurt like, my credibility of like, saying that I'm gonna change when it actually not turned up being the case. Like, when I do stuff like I just do before I think or act or whatever I do. So it's just very like heart-wrenching to think about, like, even like to this day about all that stuff before. Like that sort of stuff right there is like stuff that I'm never going to forget. That people are gonna assume I'm just trying to forget about it, but really I'm really like, just kind of stuck with this in like a sense that I'm never going to like leave it. I'm never going to like escape this. It's all just gonna be like there in my memory like forever. It's gonna be like attached to that name and like everything, but it's very hard to think about. So, which is why I'm like not gonna bring it to public. But then again, if I didn't mention it, people are gonna be starting to question about it. So yeah, I'm decided to like keep it like, mention it here and just like let it out to people and everything. So yeah, that's what everyone has to hear about. Minors. And the last thing I want to talk about before I get to my closing thoughts and statements is something that is kind of like a combination of all the stuff I talked about in this video. The doxing, the threatening, the manipulative thoughts, the egotistical brain set, my past self, ripping off stuff, everything. All of that stuff correlates to what I am about to say right now. And that all the things I have mentioned have some relation with minors. Now, I just want to say right off the bat that I do not have any ill will intention of causing harm to these specific types of people. I have no weird obsession with them, I don't have any hatred towards minors specifically, and I do not mean any predatory behavior whatsoever. But the things I have done for these types of people are far from forgivable. Everything that I have told from every single minor affected by this, I feel deeply ashamed of saying so. I have totally messed up their mindsets, some actually permanent, and are irreparable beyond damage. I could not have felt ever the more guilty, knowing that these people are now permanently affected because of what I said. The fact that I had beef with these types of people is already saying a lot. Being a 21-year-old, that sounds almost ridiculous to a point where it's honestly unbelievable. People half my age I had fights with that shouldn't really be like in this types of situation. Like people half my age, I mean, come on, like that's actually pretty messed up in the grand scheme of things. It was so bad to a point where like, you know, I had to use someone else like who was a minor as my own therapist at one point. I won't name them obviously, but it was like just it was so different from everything. I didn't really treat them like well either. Like I just like said all this stuff like, you know, saying that, you know, you're so special and everything just to like, you know, make them happy. Like, and I mean, I did really mean it that way. Like I do really feel that these people do have like a lot of talent in them, probably better than me personally. Some like there's like, but it made it feel like, you know, like they were like in debt with me. It felt like, you know, they were doing this as like a favor or like, you know, as a privilege towards my own self, which I do not want to have any sort of like, you know, malice towards any of this. But the fact that like, you know, that like mindset continued to like, you know, if they were like mentally afraid that I would have those power, like going back to all that power thing I had, you know, with everything with the creators and everything, they were like felt afraid by just talking with me, because and then they just like, you know, they just silently wanted to like, you know, do something else and like not be like, you know, not affecting like my life or anything because of all that power I like had with them. And it's hard seeing them like, you know, suffer like inside their head, like, you know, from all this. Like I was like totally ignorant to all these pains before, you know, coming into this. But now, like realizing like all the stuff they've been going through over these past couple of months, I just couldn't believe it. Like it just felt really awful. It's so harsh seeing like all this like pain all coming from me. It almost sounds like it's like something like beyond my words that I can like say out of my mouth. It's just terrible. I really don't think there is any right that I have to like say all this stuff. Like this stuff was like really messing up their minds and everything. And like, you know, it wasn't just them. It was like a whole bunch of other people like I knew I talked with. Like I really wanted to have a good connection with these people, and the fact that like, you know, I wanted to like, you know, help these people, and the people that helped me, I really felt like, you know, I wasn't like really paying attention to like their age, like if they were like 13, 14, 15 or whatever. I wasn't paying attention to that. But, you know, I really should like, you know, have like a more better understanding of who they are than to ask them these questions. Like people my age, I should really talk to, like, you know, people that are 21 or above, I should really be getting into more. But like, you know, with a franchise that's like, you know, aimed specifically towards kids, you know, it's kind of hard. So I can get it like in that sense, but like, you know, I mean, that's not really much an excuse when they talk to these types of people and say all this stuff and everything. But it just feels so wrong for me to like make these people suffer with all this like backlash and everything. And the fact I was ignorant to like all like being apologetic and everything, I think really just, you know, like makes the blow like so much more impactful for them in a negative light. And I really wish that these people would recover from this, and I wish there was something I can do to help them. But like, you know, now just like seeing all this like, you know, come to light and like seeing the people like, you know, suffer from this, I don't think there's anything I can do to like, you know, repair all this stuff. What I caused was like, you know, permanent. It's like I can't change it. Like it's like just in their minds forever, and I can't. It's not like I can pull it out like, you know, and erase it forever. Like that's stuck with them, and I feel very different. Like just knowing that they're gonna stay like this for like probably like their whole lives. It's just so. It's off. It's like, oh my god. It's just bad. It's just so bad, like bad in that so many ways that I can't even really think of the right word for it. Like it's that bad. And it's not like I can like, you know, go back in time and all this stuff. No, like it's just the way it is. And you know, if I just wish like, you know, the best, like all the help I can, like, you know, really, even though I can't like necessarily help these people, like, you know, that I've hurt, I just wish, you know, the best of like, you know, their future, and just trying to like, you know, make better relations with someone that, you know, they can actually, like, you know, be around, like, be like, you know, people around their age, like people that are more suited for that, and not just, like, you know, having just one interest in, like, regardless of being your age. I mean, seriously, like a 20-year-old talking with like a minor is like, I mean, I wouldn't say that's necessarily like wrong in like a sense, but like, you know, treating like them like at an age like where you're older than them and you're acting like more immature than them. There are people that act more mature than me that are younger than me, and like for some people that are younger, and like that, this goes for like a lot of people out there that I talk to, and I think that just really says it all with like just how much I've really, like, you know, grown into like this man child that people like to call me as. And I don't think I can really say that as, like, you know, anything more than that. I am a man child and all, and when everything's is all said in stone and everything. But I just wish that, you know, it would be like, you know, I had like a better relationship with these types of people, because like I really think that, you know, even like despite their age, I feel like there's like a lot of talent, you know, made within them, and they could really grow, like if they didn't have all this, like, you know, backlash, you know, attached to their, and all this fear that I've stirred up for them, and like I feel bad, like, you know, seeing that, you know, they have to grow up with this, and like, you know, being traumatized, like going through like their high school days or middle school like years and everything. I just feel like I've done something, like, you know, I've done something like that changed their future. Like I did like something that would affect them in like the long run and stuff, like in their high school and everything. I just feel so harsh to them, and I can't really fix any of that. Again, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it's just something that I can't really go back and fix. I wish there was a way to fix it, but it doesn't look like there is. And, you know, that's probably like the most awful thing to hear from people that I talk with, that they're just like stuck like that forever. I just wish for the best, like, you know, that like they can like get the help, like I need the help that I need best. But, you know, for the time being, I just don't see like any options of how I would help that. I mean, I know there's like a lot of people that are younger than me that want to seek help from me and want to give help, which, you know, I'm grateful for, but I really don't want to, like, you know, put all the pressure on a minor, even if like I need to tell them their personal stuff and everything. So like I am looking for, like, you know, people that I can actually like talk to within my age group and have, like, you know, the same, like have like a same understanding of like where I am from, and like the problems that I've made, and can get a better understanding of how they can fix that stuff. If I can get that, like if I can like get more people to be like that and to talk with me like all of my problems, that would be like, honestly, I'd be the happiest person alive, like if I can get that. But as far as the minors go, like, you know, with all the people, like all the problems that are like in their head right now, I honestly just wish it would never have been like that to begin with. So if you managed to make it to this point in the video, and you made it all the way through and watched me just basically ramble about all the stuff that I've done for an hour straight, well, first of all, I need to commend you for doing such a thing, for sitting through all that in one sitting. You must have balls of steel to like get through all that. And I know it's like a lot to digest and everything, and some may see this as like, you know, something unbelievable or like unrealistic that I would never do, but believe me, everything you heard today was absolutely nothing but true, and everything. And again, I'm just in total shambles just thinking about any of the stuff that has been put out to the public. And I know that I'm gonna get like a lot of comments like down in this video, probably gonna say something along the lines of, oh my god, I feel so bad for you, I forgive you, and like I forgive everything, you deserve all the love and support you get, and all that good stuff. And my response to that is just, dude, you haven't seen any of the stuff in the doc, have you? Like, I've done some horrible shit like that's pretty much unforgivable, to the point where pretty much my whole life was like almost done right there on the spot. I mean, I'm not going to force you to read the whole entire document in one sitting. You can take that like at your own time and like read through all that. I'm not forcing you to do that, but you can read at least 1 or 2 sections from that and just get like a better understanding of like just what I've done or anything. Because like any of those things that I've done before was, again, it was just horrible. It's and unforgivable to the point where just almost nothing can be fixed at this point. And I feel quite ashamed just, for having that be put on to all those people that honestly don't deserve it. And I know like this video is probably going to be like, also going to have like lots of negative comments, just like, my past 2 videos that I've done. I mean, I'm totally expecting that. I'm fully aware that's what I'm going to get. I mean, I could take all the criticism I can get at this point. Just hearing all these people like, turn on me so quickly like that. And yeah, I can definitely see all these people just, turning on for any of these things. Like the fact that I've done like, it's bad enough that I did 1 or 2 of these things that, that could be considered unforgivable to a lot. But the fact that I did all of those things, like, that everything that I've talked about is just, it just makes me feel like I'm like the worst person, like, ever to exist on this planet, ever. I don't think there is anything. I mean, I know there's like people that have done like, worse stuff before, like actually like, caused physical harm to people and everything, and like, even though I would never want to go to that level ever in my life, just these things that I've done before, I wouldn't excuse just all the horrible stuff that, I put these people through, because again, they don't deserve any of the stuff that I've said to them, and it sucks that, they have to live with that for pretty much the rest of their lives and everything. So after sitting through this whole video and just like seeing everything that I've been talking about and everything that's been going on for the past couple of days, I've just come to the realization that, I really haven't seen the severity of like all the problems until like it was brought to light. Like everything that was like presented to me for everyone that was like shown, I just felt completely different after the end. And that goes like along the lines of like one of the statements in the doc that like I don't like, there was a point or something that was saying like I don't feel apologetic and until like everything blows up in my face, which is exactly what's happening right now. Everything is blowing up, and I'm just, now I'm just coming out and saying like, but since like, this is such a big scale that like was never precedented at all at this point, I just feel like complete, depression all over my body. I don't think there's like a better sensation I can feel other than just like a horrible feeling I have inside me. And now like this come to a point where I think I owe a lot of people like just a big giant apology. I mean, I know I'm sorry before, but a lot of people weren't taking that as sincere or anything. And again, was another point on the document that was made sense. So this time I'm gonna like, say like, why I'm sorry, because I think that's gonna be more important to why I say like all the stuff that I mean, that I really mean it, that I take it for heart and everything. So I'm just going to come up and say to everyone that's watching this, everyone that's been affiliated with all these problems, everyone that's been paying attention to everything that I've done before, all those years before, I'm just going to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for threatening you. I'm sorry for hurting you. I'm sorry for creeping you out. I'm sorry for if I was thinking that I was so egotistical and manipulative to you. I'm sorry if I wasted your time with all these projects I had that ultimately didn't go anywhere. I'm sorry if I sounded so untrustworthy to you, if I put you in danger, and I'm sorry if I was a bad influence to you. I am such a horrible influence to you and like everyone else involved in their party. Like, I don't think I could have done any worse stuff that I've done in my life than like anyone else I've seen, like, in the community I've been in. Like, it's honestly just very emotional just seeing everyone suffer and everything while I'm here totally ignorant to everything. No one should be going through the stuff that I've been going through, like, regardless of their age. I'm probably the greatest example out there, like, ever, of what not to do on the internet. If there's someone out there that stoops to this low of a bar in their entire life and always makes a fool out of themselves, like, and others, no matter what they do, it's me. And the fact that there is now an entire place devoted to having me being away from everyone else because I'm not just a criminal, but also a threat to them and a danger, I think that really says it all. If that's not a worse fate that anyone can go through at this point, then I don't know what is. But I don't want anyone to go through the same stuff that I've been going through, and I want people to genuinely take this as not only a warning to others, but also a lesson of what they should do to avoid doing stuff like this, regardless of where you're at your point of your life. Because if you say any of the stuff you see in this video, like doxing or manipulative, having an egotistical brain, or having, like, you know, all these like personal stuff I'm putting onto like minors and such, you'll just end up being me. Like, and what I am is a fool, a big, giant, embarrassing, threatening fool. I wouldn't be surprised if people call me the stupidest person on earth, because it really feels that way. And what makes it so gut-wrenching to me personally, on a personal level, is just how ignorant I was to all this before, like, this all built up to it. I think I didn't really see, like, you know, the real severity of everything until I was, like, on that one call with everyone. There was like 20-something people, probably more, and they just basically just said their problems to me and like how they are feeling, and just hearing everyone's voices. That at that point I was just completely broken. I was not really feeling myself after those days were over. Seeing everyone's like reactions to everything, and just seeing all of their cries, all their worries, their fears, their dreads, their problems that I've caused on them. I feel such a bad person, that was such a bad influence to them. I couldn't have felt more ashamed seeing everyone. I hate seeing people be sad. Like, I never would have thought people would ever like do all that, like in front of my own eyes, like hearing everyone's, like, you know, tears and everything. Like that's not a worse like thing to feeling than that. I don't think there's anything else that's worse than that. Seeing everyone, like, you know, cry, even though if I didn't want to have everyone cry, I didn't want everyone to, like, you know, feel sad about themselves. I wanted the exact opposite. But it seems like everything that was been building up, like all these small things that turned into something big down the line, it just feels like it was all for nothing. That I wasted everyone's time for doing all this stuff, and it really feels like a big punch to the gut, and all this like stuff. But I want to make something clear, like, after all this, even after all the hatred and criticism and everything that I've been going through, you might think that you know, I might have this, but I don't. I don't hate anyone for doing this. I don't hate anyone who opposes my actions and stuff before, because pretty much everything you see on the video here is pretty justifiable for a reason why you do not want to affiliate me anymore. I totally understand that. I do not want to hate anyone for doing so. It would be out of my character to do so, and fully. To be honest, I don't hate anyone, like, you know, I don't really hate anyone that I talk to. Like, it would be really, like, I know that's a bit ironic, you know, given, like, all the stuff, like I've said before, like, you know, with all the hate, like, having beef on minors and everything like that, but, like, aside from those small problems that I have with people, I don't fully hate someone. Like, I do see, like, you know, the good sides in a lot of people. I'm a very gullible guy when it comes to all this. It's very easily to be, it can be very easy to, like, be friends with me. It's a very easy thing to do when I talk with people. I will admit that, and everything. So, I guess you could say that's, like, kind of like a negative thing to look at, like, in terms of my persona and, like, what I want to do and everything, and being, like, gullible and everything. But I just see it as, like, a way of just showing, like, how much I, like, see the good in people. And believe me, I didn't want to have, like, you know, all this, like, negativity going through everyone, and like having them be, like, suffer and everything they've been going through. I don't want that, you know, going through a person. And even to the creator of this like document, I don't hate the person who made this document, and they made it very clear that they don't hate me. Yeah, you'd be surprised the creator doesn't actually hate me as a person, and they want to see change out of me, which, I was completely surprised, even though when I first heard that, like, what they wanted is because, like, I mean, they hate the experience that I have with me and like all the problems that I've caused, but they don't hate me as a person, which I just found like, completely surprised. I thought they'd be like, totally, opposed to me and like just hate me for everything I've done, but which I can like totally commend and respect for that. And which I will segue into like, a personal message that was sent in the document that was made specifically for me, and I will read that right now. It's pretty much at the end of the document. It was made like a specific message for me, and it reads out that if you're reading this, StonerBang, I just want to say you probably know who I am, and it made it obvious to those who know, and I know you understand my POV and my side. Please don't use your fan base to harm me or anyone who worked on the doc. They don't deserve it, and you've been digging a deeper hole for yourself. This was not made in hatred, but for care and compassion. I want you to accept my criticisms, my grievances, my worries, and I hope you take it to heart. To others may hate you, but I don't. I don't need to hate you. I don't want to hate you. And please, don't give me a reason to. And my response is that I have the most respect for everything that you put onto this doc. Kudos to you, honestly, for making all this stuff. It probably must have taken like, weeks, maybe months to create all this stuff. Like, I have to hand it to you, like, for making all this, like, very organized and a very, like, organized read to, like, go all through the stuff. Which, I don't excuse any of the stuff that's been done in the document that's going, like, around my person. I don't, like, don't want to excuse that for making me and being the right, but I do want to, credit you to just, putting all this together, like, and helping me realize just everything that, everything that's been going on, and like your feelings towards me and like everyone else. Like, you honestly have like, a lot of passion within you, like to make all, like to see all these people that, in ways that I could have never saw them ever. But now, like, just seeing everything that's been helping Dog, it was like a way of helping me to understand everyone's feelings and problems, and not just from the call that I had, like, from, like, a couple days ago with everyone's all, and seeing all the reactions, but just seeing, like, the document. Like, part of me was, like, very hesitant to read it because, like, this is going into, like, very personal stuff that I have with me, but just reading all it, I'm just, like, glad that I really don't have to, like, worry about, like, not reading this document, because I think reading this document was a total necessity. Did I deserve all this stuff that happened to me? Absolutely. That's like, no, there's like no getting around that, but I'm just glad that reading all this document just put, like, a little less weight off my chest, if you get what I mean from that. So it's pretty clear to me and to everyone else that, something must be done, like, in order for me to live, if I ever want to continue the lifestyle that I'm going through. And I really, if I'm being honest with you, I seriously don't want to leave this alias right now and go to a different community and basically cause the same problems like I did before. I do not want to do that. And I also don't want people to have the impression of me all the time when I meet someone and, like, like, for the first time, like, in, like, a private conversation, to think that I'm a threat to everyone. I don't want that impression to have with a lot of people, especially after the instances that, left people, like, feeling a bit uncomfortable for me with all, like, the power that I that they saw in me, and, like, everything, what with all the popularity and the creators and like everything, seeing that all that, and would have, like, a fear inside them to think that way. I seriously don't want that in people when I talk to them. Like, I think that's, like, one of the first things that I need to change, and that's what I really need, is just change. I know people say, I know people hear all the time that say, I'm gonna change, like, a million times already, and that, like, nothing substantial has been done about it, and you may, like, roll your eyes at this and, like, think, like, oh, he's not gonna change ever. But seeing how is, like, how everything is, like, pretty much at a point where everything has just been blown up in my face and everything, I feel like now is a better time as ever to, like, get change, as this is one of those times where I need change, like, right now. This is, like, I need change more than ever if I ever want to continue, like, with this life. I love storybots and like everything that I've grown up with. I've loved these guys like ever since the very beginning when they first started. I wanted to like, make like a name for myself, just like making all these videos and making myself happy, like, because yeah, no one was making like these storybots videos that everyone else was making. So that's what I thought I wanted to do. And just like, make some friends along the way. And I wasn't like asking for much, just like with all this. And like, with my egotistical brain back then, you might think otherwise. But like under the surface, like without all this popularity and like, having the creators be on my side, under the hood, I'm just an ordinary Storybots fan like everyone else. Like a problematic one, sure, but a fan nonetheless. Like I really love this story, and I really don't want like, this experience I have with like these people to really affect like how I like this like Storybots. I don't think that can go for any. I don't think that goes for any show that I like. Any communities like and like, the show itself, like they're like two completely different forces. They do sometimes work hand in hand with each other, but for the most part, like their thoughts and opinions and all that doesn't really affect like, my thoughts like on the show itself. I still love it. I still love Storybots no matter what and everything. I love like everything about them. I like the characters. I like the sets and everything, the stories and all the clever setups and everything. Everything I like about them, and the songs too. There's another thing I like about that, and I just want to like really just show my compassion and just everything I love about the franchise to everyone. And I really think that, if I really want to continue this lifestyle after all this, I need to change something. And for a long while, I didn't know what to change about me. But after hearing what other people had to say about it, I think I have a good idea of what I will change, from this year, or for next year, I should say, that I will get back to like, what I do best and like make everyone like happy, because I want to make everyone happy. Like that's like a goal that I wanted to set like ever since. And even though I've done the exact opposite throughout this, like the entirety of this year, I want this next year to be like a year of change for me. Like, and so this, make people happy. Don't have people feel uncomfortable about the stuff I say. So one of the first things I want to change is just how I view people, and just like, take extra caution like to the people, like, because like I said before, like this community is like filled with like, a whole bunch of minors and stuff, and like I have to like really be careful like with what stuff I say. And when I like, before I say like, messages and stuff, sometimes I might, may not think of what I might say. So if I want to change that, I just want to like think about, the stuff that I say, and think twice about maybe like if this conversation is going to be like, uncomfortable for them, or what their reaction might be. Like, just imagine what they might think about, and just really understand what they're going to say after I say like the like in our conversations and everything. And another thing I want to change is just like how I really do stuff, like in terms of like my videos, and be more original, because I feel like people that see my videos, they might be like a bit unoriginal at times, like, since I take like all this inspiration from other people. But I actually do have some ideas I want to make like for videos that I don't think anyone has ever made for for Storybots content. I have like, I won't spoil them yet, but I do have like some original ideas that I do want, including some stories that I wanted to post out. I actually did try to make a story, like a podcast story, like a few days ago, and while I don't think like it was really, praised that well, of like, amid all this like stuff that was going on, I think, that was like my first ever attempt at doing something original, and I do plan on making more stuff that's original like that. Probably not in the same format, but like in like something that's like something that, people can enjoy, and like, just take the time to like watch, and like, and to really show my own talents and everything. And another thing, and then speaking of talents, there's another thing I want to improve, is just like, the other talents I've like never shown to everyone that like I would really like want people to see when it comes to like my videos. And I do want to like, show some of this like stuff to like, channel. I don't have like, a good idea of how I would do that yet, but I do want to like show that to some people if that's at all possible, and everything. And one final thing I just want to change about just myself is just, well, just trying to like, build like, a relationship again, like with everyone, because I feel like I'm like owe everyone like something else, like, And I know like a lot of people tell me like, oh, but just saying like, you're sorry for everything is enough. But I really feel like that I just need to give something to these people that like, that I can like really help them out with their stuff. And I don't, and while I can't really think of an exact idea as of yet, I really think that something really big should happen for them, because they deserve all the talent that they have. Because some of these people I talk to are incredibly talented, like, artists, writers, designers, everything. They are very talented people that I've talked to, and they deserve all the love and support they get from like all the work they make. They make better stuff than I ever made, which is really saying something. Is they really deserve everything that they make and everything. So before I sign off this video and basically just end everything on like the topic of all like the things we talked about, I want to end off things like on a positive note for once, because all I've been talking about was just negative stuff and all that. And really, I've been losing my voice just, like writing over like, just the things I wanted to say in this video. I'm basically just reading like a bunch of bullet points that I've made for myself on this video. And it's really like, taking a toll on my voice, like, and everything. So I don't want like to drag this on any more than it already has. But I do want to end off by saying that I do really wish that I want to change something about me that will really, get people like, get back the relationships I had. I know some people are just not gonna like, get back with me because of all the permanent stuff that I've been causing with them, which I totally understand and everything. Yeah, you have every right to be thinking that way, but I do really wish that people really feel better after like, for me just realizing everything that I've done, like, because I get a few people might not think that I've seen all the problems that have been like addressed out to everyone and feel like I'm like totally ignorant to everything, but I mean it does really feel that way like at first before I started making this video, but I really do feel sincere when I address all the problems and actually try to really fix like this, like the stuff that not only like people have had, but also like with me personally, with my own stuff that I've been going through. And I know a lot of people really want to see me like get help, like, actual, physical therapy help and everything. And I am happy to say that as of recording this part, I am getting the help that I need. I've just recently got like in touch with a therapist like in my local area, and sessions to start like, sometime next week. And during that time I will also be like with family and like spending all the time with them, like doing all the stuff we love and like play games and giving presents and everything, especially during the holidays. And speaking of just the holidays, I really don't want this video to like, soil those who like want to get into the holidays and everything, because I know like it's that time of the year where, you really shouldn't feel like, down upon yourself and like really like feel uncomfortable with like the people around you, because it's that time where you should really like, love the people that you love most, and giving like all your support to like everyone that you really care for, and give like presents and like love and support, everything, like all the the Christmas tree lights, or even like Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, like anything that will like give you like love and passion for the family that you have. Just spend time with your family more. Like I feel like that like everyone that feels like alone during these times and like don't have really much to go to, and especially like if from these problems I've been causing people, they may feel like they like don't have like the self-confidence. And if it really did feel like that I didn't really care for anyone, that I'm truly sorry for that. I really don't want people to feel that way. I know I say that a lot of times, but I really do mean it. That it really emphasizes on just how much I don't want people to suffer now, just especially like during this time. If anything, I want like 2025 to be like the year where I just don't want to be the same way I was before, and by the end of like December of next year, I'm hoping that all this will like be like go aside me, like I could just grow and like move on from all this like stuff and really just take it into everything. And it's not like that all the problems I've caused before are gonna go away in like my brain. No, that's gonna stay with me forever. I'm forever gonna have that sting inside me and always. But I don't want to like leave this like part like of the community that I've been in for like nearly a year now, and building all these like relationships I've been having since, when I started. Like, if you respect my decisions and like what I want to do to stay and change and all as a person, like into everyone, then I'll respect your decisions and like what you want to do with me. So that's well, like, ask all of you, just like, and like, since like everyone is pretty much here watching this all together, if you feel like that, it's best that you want to like keep your distance from me and like never want to like affiliate your name under mine. Again, that's like totally respectful under my hat. I won't have like any like beef with you if you really do feel that way, like especially like after the stuff I've caused. But if you do want to see change in me and you want to like get to the relationship back to like how it once was, and like positive, getting back into that happy state that you were in back then I will also respect that. Like, I really don't think there's any like wrong way of like viewing it or anything. So if you feel like that you want to stay, or if you want to like go and like don't want to like affiliate with me, no matter what you do, I will have nothing but great respect for you, because I really want you to succeed as well as my own, because I feel like there is at least some good in every person that I talk to. Like, not every person like can be the greatest or can be like the Mr. Perfect all the time, because no one's perfect, let's be honest. But if there is like change that I can make in me that like can really improve my image image and like just make a better impression to the world and everyone, then I feel like that now is a better time as ever to do so. So think long and hard about your decision and what you want to do, and whatever, like if it takes like a month or like maybe a couple days, or if it will be instant, I won't care whatever like you have to say. Again, I'm not asking for any of your forgiveness. I'm not asking for any sympathy or pity or anything of the sort. All I care is that you, as a person, do what's right for you that makes yourself happy. Because all that matters at this point is what makes you the best that you can possibly ever be. And I will continue to do what I do best, and that is to make videos that will make other people happy. Because that's what I really like to see, making people happy. So I'll end up by saying that, when you like give out this video and tell your friends about like the stuff, everything that's been going on with me, I don't want people to feel worried about me anymore. I don't want to be a threat. I don't want the first impression of you to think of me as a threat the first like time you want to get in contact with me. That's not the impression I want like from people anymore. I want people to feel happy about themselves when I get like knowing them more as a person and getting to know what they do and all their weaknesses and strengths and everything. So I hope everyone has like a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate, and spend time with your family, and like don't feel like a big piece of crap like after this video, because you honestly deserve the best. Everyone deserves the best. And times like when you really feel like alone and you have no one on your side, there's always going to at least someone to be with you. So I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday this year, and hopefully to everyone and to myself, a better 2025 moving forward. See you all next time, and have a good one.